So tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about the following things. Some new podcasting equipment I purchased. We're going to be talking about branding your business through YouTube, using podcasting, and finally, we're going to end talking about using Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn for building your business. This is what we're going to be talking about tonight. So I think we've got a really good episode for you. We just finished a huge undertaking with our website. We just got done completely updating our website because we simply weren't getting out there in search. We were coming up really poorly in the rankings. There was a lot of broken things on our website, so we hired a company that I trust and that I know to develop and do a brand new website from ground up. And that's a tough thing to do because you invest a lot of time and money over the years and material on a website, but we felt that the best thing to do was pretty much nuke the one we had and start over from scratch. And we did that. And we've got some people who know what they're doing with SEO. And I'll tell you, I'll give a personal plug of the week to Rob Johnson of Corn Dog Computers. Done an excellent job. Recently, I heard about the AT2100. I'm going to go ahead on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and bring that up right on the screen here. And I'll have links to that in the show notes. And by the way, for those of you listening on the podcast, the show notes and everything will be available at frugalbrothers.com/396. That's frugal, F-R-U-G-A-L, brothers.com/396. And this you can find the show notes to the podcast. This microphone is an amazing sounding microphone. I have heard, so I've been listening to some podcasts about it. I've been listening to some samples done on YouTube. It is a USB/XLR microphone. And what that means, folks, is that you can use it, plug it straight into your PC or Mac, use it as a microphone, or if you have a mixer, you can't outgrow it. You can plug it into a mixer using the XLR cable that comes with it. This thing, and I just want to say the top of the line podcasting microphone out there is the Heil PR40. This is about a $300 microphone. That's the top of the line. That's what Leo Laporte uses and others use. But I tell you what, the sound of this $40 microphone, actually got it for $34 today. The sound of this microphone is very close to the Heil PR40. YouTube is where I started in social media. I guess my first attempts was YouTube. To build a brand, my idea was initially, and I've told this story many times, was to generate traffic to my website, frugalbrothers.com, by creating videos on YouTube under the handle or the title Frugal Tech. And I was going to build this brand, and I envisioned at the time that we would have a community of small business people, maybe some smaller IT shops, that kind of thing, talking back and forth about what's good, what's not good, what to buy, what not to buy. That kind of thing. And we have now done 450 videos on YouTube, and I am now a YouTube partner, and I'm proud of that. I get not a lot of views, about 18,000 views a month. We have over 2,000 subscribers to the channel, and yeah, I do make a few bucks off of it, but that's not the intention. Simultaneously, I was also doing a live stream, all right, called Frugal Tech Live. And we had a chat room and people came, and it was a lot of fun, but it was a huge distraction, and it was not right for me. It wasn't the right forum for me. But we rebranded Frugal Tech Live as Business Computing Weekly, primarily to do as a YouTube video. All right. So we kind of morphed from doing a live stream and small little 3 and 5 minute videos on YouTube to doing a show on YouTube. And I got to tell you, for me, it's met with moderate success, not the kind of success that I'm looking for. And through nobody's fault, but it turns out that YouTube is probably not the right place for a long format show. It's just not. It's about screen time. How much time does somebody have to sit in front of a computer screen and watch a YouTube video? And it's very tough when you're building your brand to to even be found on YouTube, number one, but then let alone try to hold somebody's attention for 20, 30, 40 minutes or so. That's just not really feasible. You can have the best content in the world, the best. You can have the best production value. You can have the best sound. You can have the best lighting. You can have the best camera. All these things, and never, ever be found on YouTube. It's so vast.
Well, they have there's a place for the long videos. If you're doing like a mini series or something that you want people to view and get out there, that's one place to put it. And if you have tutorial videos where you fully expect that people will download the video and watch it at their own convenience anyway, that would be another thing. But for what we do, anything much over 30 to 35 minutes, people just start getting, people's attention span is only so long.
You're exactly right. People's attention span is fairly short. I can tell you what not to do. If you establish a brand doing something on YouTube, if you try to deviate from that, your audience will punish you for that. You will not get the views, you will not get the likes, you will not get the ratings, and people will be scratching their heads saying, "What are you doing?" So from the very outset, if your purpose is to brand your business or yourself, then do that and stay tried and true to that. When you try to deviate, this is a lesson that I've taken. It's not to say you can't try new things, but stay within your comfort area and your subscribers' comfort area. Whenever I deviate, whenever I try to put up 20-minute, 30-minute, 40-minute videos, not so much. Doesn't work out quite as well. That's why Business Computing Weekly is available as a full-length audio podcast. That's what it's available of. And then we're doing this condensed version on YouTube, or for YouTube, I should say, as well. So podcasting, let me ask you a question, Jack. How long does it take you to read a tweet?
About 3 to 5 seconds, depending on how long the tweet is.
Yeah, about the same here. And how long, do you ever read a blog post?
I do, not as often as I read a tweet.
Okay. I do occasionally read some blogs.
Right.
And I might spend a couple minutes looking at a blog. Mm-hmm. I hear that there's about 480 million blogs out there in the world.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a ton. That is a ton.
Pretty much everybody has a blog about something, I guess.
Yeah. Do you know how many podcasts are in the iTunes directory?
I have no idea right now.
250,000.
It would have helped if I'd looked at that in the show notes.
Yes, it would have. That's why we have them.
Nice.
For the last several months, I have been pouring. And I'm going to share some of the things I learned about podcasting with you folks. Number one, podcasting is one of the hottest forms of social media going. And no small part to two things, the iPhone and the iTunes. But over 500 million people out there with these things, folks, using iTunes actively. 500 million. Now, here's the thing. Unlike video, unlike watching a YouTube video, unlike a tweet, unlike a blog, people go to iTunes and they search. So iTunes, they forget. iTunes is a search engine. And they're searching for...
Not a very good one, but it is a search engine.
It is a search engine. And they're searching for information they want. Folks, download your podcast. Okay? They listen. They take the time to listen. They're listening it in their car. They're listening to your podcast at home. They're on the move, on the go. But they're listening to podcasts. So what turned me on to podcasting? Well, I guess I decided to take Business Computing Weekly, this show that was on YouTube, and say, let's look for a new way to distribute this thing, and podcasting came to mind. And I had to learn, the mechanical bits, the oily bits. How do you put a podcast together? I've never done it. And I started off using a service called Podomatic. But I've spent a lot more time, and now I can say that I have no problem with Podomatic, and I'm not going to say anything bad about Podomatic. But I wish I would have listened to a couple people in the industry first before I rushed out to produce my first podcast. The first person I want to talk about right here, I'm bringing him out on the screen, is Podcast Answer Man. I'm giving a shout out to Cliff Ravenscraft. And his site has a wealth of information. He makes a living, folks, of being a podcaster and teaching others how to podcast. And you can find him at podcastanswerman.com. And he put out some real base. He actually has a podcasting class he calls Podcasting A to Z. This is how the man makes his living, and that's fine. But he also gives you a lot. If you just look through his blogs, if you listen to his podcast, you can learn an awful lot absolutely free of charge about podcasting. Now, the next person I want to share, and this guy is he's also very interesting. His name is Pat Flynn, Smart Passive Income. He posts how much money he makes a month off of Smart Passive Income, the podcast, and activities related based around passive. What is passive income? Well, after looking things over, listening to his podcast, essentially he is doing a lot of affiliate marketing. He is doing a lot of marketing and building a brand for his business around his podcast. All right. And he does an incredible job. He's making over $50,000 to $60,000 a month. Okay. By working his rear off. This is a 30-year-old guy in California. He used to work at an architect's office, got laid off, didn't have a lot of money, started with nothing really, and has become built his brand offering small business advice, building an online business from the ground up. And he shows you how to do it, and you got to listen to him. And I said, you need to, if you're going to be interested in doing online marketing, if your business is doing anything online, you need to listen to Pat Flynn. You need to listen to Cliff Ravenscraft. Two great people out there that are doing tremendous podcasts. But there's specific words you need to put in the title of the name of your show.
Right.
And like, for example, originally I started off as a podcast. The name was Business Computing Weekly. Makes sense. That's what we call ourselves.
Right.
No, I had to add technology, computers, and business in there. Now, here's what happened. I did that a little over a month ago. We were not getting very many downloads. I'm going to share with people right now. We were getting maybe 300, 400 downloads a month. Mm-hmm. With that name. I changed the name. I followed some. I'm not going to give away everything I learned, but I'm telling you, folks, listen to these guys. I changed the name. I changed keywords. I made it more SEO, more search friendly. And I also made sure that I got on the right directories. I just thought it was iTunes and that was it. You get on iTunes and you're done. End of story. No, you need to be not only on iTunes, you need to be on Stitcher Radio. You need to be on BlackBerry Podcast Network. Believe it or not, there's still a lot of BlackBerry users out there that use that. Microsoft still has the Zune podcast directory. You need to be on a lot of different directories, not just iTunes. I can tell you this. We went from 250, 300 downloads a month. Within 30 days, we're at least going to hit 1,000 downloads this month, and it's still growing. I'm giving you, this is from my heart, folks. I love small business people. They're my heroes. You're the ones that get up every morning and you make the coffee and you make sure the trains run on time and you work the 14 and 16 hours a day. That's why we do this show, because computers are a big part now of what we do to make a living. We want you to build your own brand. You have to understand everybody is a brand in this day and age. We all are. Even if you don't work for yourself, you're still your brand. So, next we're going to talk about incorporating Facebook, Twitter, Google, LinkedIn, and other things as part of your social media strategy. I have to admit, I do not have a Facebook fan page. I do use Twitter. I do have Facebook. I am a member of LinkedIn, social media sites. And I try to, and I've made a lot of mistakes with these things. I really have, from a business perspective. I've always had in my mind that Facebook, for example, was for personal stuff. That was where my friends were, family, that kind of thing. I use Twitter for business purposes. I use LinkedIn somewhat for business purposes. But I might be going about that all wrong. Maybe there's other ways to do it. I was listening to a podcast the other day from a top-ranked podcaster who mentioned that he uses Facebook, for example. His personal does not have a fan page. Rather uses his personal profile, accepts friend requests for him, just about anybody. He's got about 3,000 friends on Facebook. That's where 90% of his social media stuff goes. He shares pictures and videos and that kind of thing on Facebook to build his brand. Okay, to build his brand. Is that a good idea? Maybe it is a good idea to use a personal profile as opposed to a fan page.
I don't think it would be for everybody. It depends on what you do and what you're trying to market. But for some people, I think, especially if your personality is what you're selling, I think that's a great way to do it. So
I thought that was kind of interesting. Twitter is a whole different beast. You probably recall the other day I sent out a tweet said I'm doing this Twitter thing all wrong. It turns out I've got more tweets that I've sent than followers.
Yeah,
I wanted to put that into perspective because what for people who do podcasting. The fact of the matter is, this was I think a vice president of Libsyn, which is a big hosting service for media files that we upload the podcast to, said that it was his opinion that if you're tweeting out about your show, got all these tweets about your shows, and you've got less followers and you did the number of tweets about your show, then you're probably doing Twitter wrong. So I wanted to put that into context. I go, and I go, boy, I've got thousands of tweets, and I'll be the first one to admit I don't have that many Twitter followers. It's not that I don't try to put out content and that kind of thing, but
I think I'm still in the double digits on followers.
Well, I don't have that many. The last time I looked was like under 600 followers, and I'm thinking I'm doing the right things, and I'm trying to, but I don't know. Maybe I'm not. Apparently I'm not. But I don't know how important Twitter followers really are from what I'm trying to do. But look, at least, this is my advice, at least have one or two social platforms to build your brand, to build your business, and you got to do it not as trying to sell something, but engaging with people and showing them a little bit about people, because customers are people. Mm-hmm. Okay, they're people, and they're interested in things other than your product. You need to provide material that they're interested in. You need to brand yourself. People buy. Look, at the end of the day, people buy off people they like and they trust.
Well, that brings 2 points to my mind. One, as far as reaching people on Facebook, if you look at it this way, let's say you share a video on Facebook, whatever it may be. Let's say you share Business Computing Weekly on Facebook, and I do. I post it every week, and I have a link to it, and I share that on my McLean's computer repair site. Well, let's say only 30 or 40 of my, my friends on Facebook actually watch the video. Well, that's great, but if I can get 10 or 15 of those people to share that video, now every one of their friends also gets to see this. Whether they view it or not, it's up to them, But look how much exposure I just got. I went from maybe getting the video exposed to, my 120 friends on Facebook to now maybe getting, thanks to these 10 people that shared it, it may be exposed to 20 to 30,000 people that I would never meet.
So let's go ahead and move on. And the next thing we're going to talk about is how to grow your Twitter followers scientifically. So, yeah, you can apparently make a lot of really boneheaded mistakes when you're trying to grow the number of followers, true followers in Twitter. And there's been some scientific research done by CJ Hutto, Eric Gilbert, and Sarita Yardi. Now, they tracked 500 active Twitter users and tweeted more than 500,000 times in the course of 15 months. And then the Twitter users were selected randomly. I'm going to have the link to this article in the show notes, but there's some points, some do's and don'ts of Twitter that you need to probably pay attention to. And they've got all these nice graphs and charts and all that. But let's get to the kind of the meat and potatoes. Frequency of retweeting your tweets is important. If you don't have a lot of followers retweeting your tweets, you're doing something wrong. You're not giving people the good information that they're looking for. If we think of Twitter differently than we do Facebook, because number one, we have almost no, for the most part, real connections with these people, who these followers, and who we follow and who follows us, right? Jack, would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's a few followers that are friends, but for the most part, these are people I don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the people I follow don't know me. So let's just say there's a very, very loose social connection with these people based strictly on the content of Twitter, what we see of them and what they tweet. If I go around being negative in my tweets, this is the big no-no. This is one of the things that will cost you subscribers or followers. Maybe not. Maybe it won't cost you, depending on how negative you are, the followers you already have. But when people are looking for new people to follow and they see you're a negative person, they're much, much less likely to follow you. So that is something to bear in mind. So too many negative tweets will affect your number of followers. That makes sense to me.
Common sense.
Common sense. If you have a high frequency of informational tweets, high frequency, lots of tweets with lots of information, that's pretty good. That's something you should be doing. Because guess what, folks? People don't care that you're having a sale on a product this week. They don't care what you had for breakfast this morning. They don't care, okay, that they can get 2-for-1 special today at your oil change shop. They don't care about these things. A couple other things to look at is if somebody follows you, your tendency to follow those back. That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you follow more people than follow you, that's not good. Okay? If you follow more people than you follow, that's not good. Jack and I appreciate you watching Business Computing Weekly on YouTube. We appreciate you coming to the site, frugalbrothers.com/podcast. Check out Business Computing Weekly. We appreciate you coming there, listening, subscribing to us on YouTube, subscribing to us on iTunes, the full podcast. That's where you want to go to hear the whole show, is on iTunes or Stitcher. We're on Zune. We're on BlackBerry. We're on Blueberry. We're on Tech Podcast Network. We're on a lot of different directories. Subscribe to us through the directory of your choice. We appreciate that. So come to frugalbrothers.com, go to the podcast section, check it out. Go to frugalbrothers.com/396 for these show notes. And we'll talk to you next week. Take care, everybody. And